we're entering a new era. I can feel it. I know what's happening. I'm experimenting with new stuff. So let's talk about it. Let's jump in. What's up, pals, and welcome back to The Passion Project. My name's Hallee. If you're new here, welcome. I am a creator on TikTok and YouTube. And I have officially been a creator for almost 3 years now, which is insane to me. How is that real? Time flies. Which actually directly ties into today's topic. I want to talk about all of the eras that I have gone through with you guys on social media. There's been a lot of different ones, and I think I've been thinking recently about how each of these eras tied into myself and my personal journey, and the different ways I've been showing up on social media versus the way I was feeling at that time or in that moment. Now, the first era, we'll start in 2020. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you probably have a little bit of an idea of some of these eras because I've talked about them before, but not in this way that we're going to talk today. I'm going to concisely take you through a timeline of how they all played out. So the very first era, during quarantine, 2020, good old quarantine. I had always dreamed of being a YouTuber. My favorite creator was Indie Blue, and her videos inspired me to just make videos. I would make videos of my travels with my family, with friends, etc. Just posted them for fun, edited them, didn't really expect anyone to see them. Anyways, quarantine, the first era was the Passion Project era. A lot of you guys might not know this, but that era is why I named this podcast The Passion Project. So that started with me being bored in quarantine, not knowing what to do, and deciding that I'm going to post a YouTube video once a week. These were long-form YouTube videos, and really the only people that watched them were people that knew me. So I would post about it on Instagram. Hey guys, I'm starting a YouTube channel. And so all the people, for the most part, that watched that were people that knew me personally. So that time, I really had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I felt like I was at this turning point in my life where I was like, do I get a corporate job? Do I keep trying to freelance? Do I try to become a creator? I don't know. I had no idea what to do. And so the reason I started that little series was because I wanted to document the process of figuring it out. So after the Passion Project era ended, welcome the Siri era. I could get really in depth on this one, but for the most part, I've chosen to not speak publicly about a lot of the things that happened behind the scenes in this era, but this was the era that got me started as a creator, where I got lots of views, and I realized that this was a career path I could go on. So let's dive into that one a little bit more. And if you weren't here with me on that era, I probably should clarify what the Siri era was. So at the time, I was starting my business, Hallee Media and Design, and there was this guy I knew from college that was making content. I had a couple random TikToks go viral, but I was just like, oh, cool, fun. I don't know what that means. Didn't really get followers. Anyways, because I had them go viral, he was kind of asking me to be in his videos. I didn't want to be in them. They made me feel a little uncomfortable, and I just, it didn't align with what I was doing at the time. I was starting my business, so I was like, that's what I'm focusing on. But he ended up convincing me to be in the videos. So I decided to be in a few to be nice while I was visiting my friend, because I actually had to drive an hour and a half to go film these videos. So turns out these videos went mega viral. And what character was I playing? Siri. I was Siri. And part of the reason I decided to ultimately do this is because I always had an interest in acting. And so I thought it was fun and cool to just be able to act, be, in a non-serious environment. I had no acting experience, but I realized that I kind of had a bit of a talent for it. So I was playing the character Siri, and for a while, people thought I was actually Siri. I came up with the idea to bring the character onto my channel because I was putting in all this work, and I realized, I'm not really getting anything out of this, but I'm spending a lot of time helping this person. So, the duet feature on TikTok, I started duetting the videos where I would appear at a laptop typing and be Siri. I would lip sync the voice. A lot of people ask me like, oh, do the Siri voice. It was just lip syncing. But I look back on those videos and I'm like, no wonder they thought I was Siri. I have some robotic thing about me that I can do. Anyways, that was the Siri era. And it all really, looking back on it, happened by accident. I didn't know what I was doing. At the time, I was going through a breakup of 6 years. So I wasn't in the best place personally, but all this quote unquote success was happening and I just didn't really know what to make of it. So I was just doing what worked. And then I realized this isn't really me. The relationship with that creator wasn't working out. I was not a fan of how they treated people or how they treated me. So that could be a whole story in itself. But again, I chose to keep that story private to myself for my healing because it was actually very traumatic to me, some of the things that happened. So we're going to skip that because I don't know, I don't feel comfortable talking about it as much as part of me wants to. I don't feel comfortable talking about it. So I got out of that situation and then I found myself thinking, well, what the heck do I do next? Which brings us into the next era. This era we'll call the name spelling era. On a personal level, this era was a lot of healing for me personally, healing from the situation I'd just gone through, healing from my 6-year relationship breakup, healing from just things I'd been carrying with me throughout my life that I didn't really realize I was carrying with me. And so in this era, if you didn't see this content, this is probably what I'm most known for. Going to Starbucks and Dunkin' and seeing how many times it takes them to guess how to spell my name right. That ended up being the thing that stuck. That people still will come up to me and be like, oh, did Starbucks get your name wrong? And to me, it's like, that happened so long ago. And I talked about this one actually in a recent episode specifically to just say the deeper meaning. So we won't get into that. Go check that one out if you didn't check out that episode on the deeper meaning of this one. But basically, I was just going to Dunkin' and Starbucks to see how many times it took them to spell my name right. And in this era, it was very chaotic. I was still almost, I feel like, playing a character. I didn't realize it at the time, but I would have to get myself super excited and hyped up and maybe drink some extra coffee to go film these videos because as much as I can be this upbeat, exciting person, on a day-to-day basis, I'm not walking around the street bouncing off the walls like that. But I knew it was entertaining people and it was working, so I stuck with it. And again, I didn't know where I was going. This was a journey. So that era kind of lingered, and I would still go back to those videos for a while. But the next era, to give you an idea where we are on the timeline, was the colorful era. This one was a long era, I guess. And I kind of grouped a bunch together because in this one we had smoothies inspired by emojis, one color shopping challenges, ordering drinks inspired by my outfit. I was just in a creative vibe and I was still really in the midst of that healing phase personally. So I was just trying to express all of my creative energy, let it all out. And this era went on for quite a while. I would say probably started around January 2021 and went honestly up until the end of last year, 2022. I kept with this because it started to feel like my personal brand. I felt like I was seen as this super high energy, silly, goofy, bubbly, maybe a little airheaded character online. And so that originated from everything that happened in this journey. And it feels like it feels like a character sometimes because as much as, like I said, as much as that is a part of me, it's just not, I don't wake up like that, and I don't go out and like talk to people and always be that super high energy person. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just fun and it was just something I could do to express my creativity. So I was just going with what works. Again, fading from era to era, but also keeping a lot of things under wraps because I was healing, I was vulnerable, and I didn't necessarily want that part of my life to be public. So I realized I could make people smile even when I was in pain, I guess, if that makes sense. That sounds really dark, but it's true. So I kept to it. That era lived on for quite some time. The next era was the skit era. This first started coming into play, honestly, at the beginning. You could say at the beginning because Siri, a lot of those were skits. But when I started writing my own skits, where I was really focusing on storytelling, this era has kind of been intertwined with other eras. So like I would do it here and there. But recently, I wanted to focus on learning script writing and acting. Like I said before, like I'm multi-passionate. If you've listened to this, you know I'm multi-passionate. And acting is one of those things that I've always kind of wondered about. I thought that I could potentially do it, but something about the industry terrifies me and I feel like it would kill my confidence. But nevertheless, it is fun to act for me. And so the skit era was born, or it lingers. It wasn't a set amount of time that I was just doing these, and they still pop in here and there, but I guess it's just a type of content more so than an era. And I guess part of that is just me exploring an interest I have in acting and script writing and maybe a little bit of comedy. We have 2 more eras, guys. Don't tune out yet. 2 more eras, and then I'm going to talk about this new era that we are entering because there are a lot of fun new things to look forward to that I'm excited about, and I hope you guys are also excited about. So there was the weird national holidays era. These were fun. I honestly started doing these because I was lacking inspiration and I could not figure out where I wanted to go next with my content. I was getting kind of bored of the colorful era. And so I started looking up weird national holidays, and I used those as inspiration for making content. Some of them were kind of skit-like. Others were more cooking-based, but really I would just look up random national holidays and come up with a creative video idea to, I guess, execute on for that holiday. And then the last era that I'm going to talk about, and this was another one that spanned across and kind of overlaps with skit era, is the Target era. This is another one that sticks, and a lot of people think of me as a Target girl, which, to be honest with you, I have always loved Target. I kind of want to tell you guys the story. It might be irrelevant, but I think it's kind of funny. I started loving Target when I was like 10 or 12, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that like people are literally obsessed with Target for some reason. I was, and I guess I still kind of am. Anyways, I went on a vacation with my family, and the family friends we stayed with, they had this multicolored polka dot blanket. It was like white with rainbow polka dots on it. And I thought this was the comfiest blanket I've ever experienced. I thought it was the most beautiful blanket I had ever seen. I don't know why. I was obsessed with that blanket. And I found out that they got it at Target because I wanted to buy that blanket, like get one. So when I found out it was at Target, I always got so excited to go to Target with my mom because in my head I'm like, I'm going to find that blanket. And so that just brought this exciting vibe with me every time I went to Target. And so I loved going to Target simply because in the back of my mind I'm like, maybe I'll find that really cool blanket. I don't know, that's so silly, but it's so true. I did not ever find the blanket, unfortunately. That's how the story ends. I did not find the blanket, but it led to my love for Target, which is carried on into adulthood in different ways. I don't go there looking for the blanket anymore. But anyways, the Target era, this is a series of, I think there were 7 skits, and it started because I was just in Target one day wandering around, and I was like, wait, why did I come here? And I legitimately forgot why I came there. And I was just wandering around. I was like, shoot, I should have made a list. You know, like I couldn't remember why I came there. I was looking at something completely irrelevant that I just wanted to buy. And then I was like, you know what? That would be a funny skit. Because I feel like this happens to me a lot. And I feel like it happens to other people. So thus, the Target era was born. And again, like most ideas at the time, I didn't realize that it was going to go as viral as it did. but it did. And it's still a running joke that I could keep going. Personally, I'm sick of it. I know you guys, if you're listening, I don't know if you guys are Target fans of the Target era, but like on my YouTube channel, everyone loves that era still. So, that's the fun thing about these eras, and I want you guys to tell me, should I bring some of these eras back? Let me know. Let me know. Because I'm not opposed to ever bringing eras back. I think it's just important that I, in my own mind, categorize them as a past era versus like where I am now. Because since being a creator is such a creative act, I think where I'm going or like where I am now ties a lot into what I want to create, if that makes sense. And so all of that brings us to this new era that we are entering now. As I mentioned before, having been a creator for 3 years now, I think that my taste in content has matured. I think that my ideas of the type of content I want to create have matured. And my skills have also improved. Like, at first, I was just making what I could because I didn't necessarily have the storytelling, the editing, the filming experience to make exactly what I wanted. So now I feel like I have this extreme, major interest, pull, passion, whatever you want to call it, towards storytelling. And when I reflect and look back, everything I've done up until this point is storytelling. Whether it's a skit, whether it's the fun Hallee name spelling videos, like everything is a story, whether I knew it at the time or not. And so in my head, that's why this transition feels seamless, but I obviously want that experience for you guys to feel the same. I have noticed that the way I show up on social media sometimes is a little disconnected. And I think that's because I have had this confusion of like, who am I? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do next? What do I want to become? What's the end goal? And I think part of my problem with that is the one thing that I talk about on here all the time is being multi-passionate. And that's why with this podcast, I like, calling it a journey, telling you that, or talking about going on it together. Long story short, this new era is my new interest in creating. And so I hope that you guys enjoy it. And this is what it's going to consist of, at least I think right now. More podcasts. I love the creation of this podcast. I love making this podcast. I feel like I can connect with you guys on a deeper level. We can just have conversations. I don't feel anxious much when I create podcast episodes because I'm just sitting here being real and talking to you guys, having a conversation. And so I'm really grateful that so many of you have been consistently listening and continue to listen. So, with that being said, I'm going to be attempting to post weekly again, audio episodes only. And once a month, I'm going to be posting a video podcast episode to my main channel. So if you listened before on the YouTube channel, or I guess watched technically, it's now gonna be on my main channel. I'm gonna start with once a month because that feels realistic to me. Hopefully we can increase that amount, but for now that's what it is, and I'm going to be trying to get a weekly audio episode out to you guys. The other thing that's going to be a little different in terms of my main YouTube, TikTok content is that, like I said, I'm going to be focusing on storytelling and doing videos that are still challenges. I know you guys love challenges, and that's the one parallel I found. So challenges that I think can help inspire other people to find their path and be the best versions of themselves. For example, I've done one of these videos and they make me super excited. So that's why I love this new direction. And it is, I train like a professional dancer for 30 days. The second one I'm working on now is training for a Spartan race, or I guess you could say as a professional athlete, for 30 days. So that's the direction I'm going in. Obviously, things could change along the way, but those are the things that I'm super excited to share with you guys, and I'm happy to talk about them on the podcast as well. If you guys want to hear more about like why I do it and more in depth about the process, like in a more conversational way versus a storytelling cinematic way. And then the last thing if you're on the newsletter, you might have noticed the new merch that I'm wearing. I have always wanted to have my own product or clothing line, something. I don't know what it is. I didn't know what it is. But what I do know is that it feels like the right time to go all in on something like this so that I can bring you guys along in the process of building it with me. I think a lot of creators, they get to a point where they have a team, and this is just my observation. They get to the point where they have a lot of followers, they have a really engaged community, they have a team helping them out, and then they launch a clothing brand or whatever it may be. What I'm going to do, I don't have a team. I'm working on hiring editors. I've worked with editors here and there, but aside from that, I'm a one-woman show, and I've told you guys that before. So I think it would be cool to take you guys in the process with me of starting a business. I don't know what it's going to look like, or starting another business, I guess I should say. I can't promise you guys anything outside of the fact that we are going to grow together. I'm actually really, really happy with how this merch design came out. Originally, I was going to only have them available for a month, but I believe I'm going to be extending that a little bit as we figure things out, so bear with me, guys. If you haven't, please give this show a review. It'll help us grow and connect together. And I simplified the email. I know the email that I told you guys to reach out to me on was a little complicated, but I want to hear from you guys. You can email podcast@halleesmith.com. That's podcast@halleesmith.com. Let me know what episodes you want to hear me talk about, your favorite episodes, things that you have accomplished. I love hearing from you guys, and it inspires me to keep creating and lets me know that I'm doing something right. I've had some people reach out and say, this is outside of my comfort zone. If it's outside of your comfort zone, just send it. I'm not gonna judge you. I love hearing from you guys no matter what. So thank you guys for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this era's video. If there's an era you want to see me bring back also, let me know. Send me an email, leave me a comment. I'm trying to make everything more cohesive. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, pals.